I thank God for you being here. And we have to discuss with you creative strategies. God has strategies. God has plans to deal with spiritual wars or spiritual warfare. It is important that when things come against you, that you do not try to fight it your way, but that you follow his strategies, that he has a predetermined plan for how you should deal with what's coming against you. And so please take your seats and let's look at Nehemiah chapter number 5. A lot of things are coming against you because you're chosen. And the mere fact that you've been chosen will attract conflict. If you're Mary, and he says, "Hail Mary, you're highly favored among women," then it attracts conflict, because the next thing you notice is that Joseph wants to put her away privately, and she could have been stoned because of her favor. You missed that. She could have been stoned because of her favor. She could have been stoned because she was chosen. And people were talking about her because God had selected her. And if it's Moses and God has chosen him to deliver the children of Israel, there's a Pharaoh who's after him. Every time God raises up a deliverer, there will always be an adversary. If there is a Moses, there will be a Pharaoh. If there's a Jesus, get ready for a Herod. If there's a church, there's a dragon. And so it is to be anticipated. It is to be expected. If there's a Jesus hanging on the cross, there is a thief on the other side saying, if you really are the Son of God, you would come down and you would save yourself and us. So you have to be able to endure the contradiction of sinners. You have to be able to get through all of the naysayers. And if you can survive all of that and stay focused and not give up in the face of discouragement and stay the course, you win. And so it is in the book of Nehemiah, chapter number 5. I want to look at a few verses here. Verse 1, "And there was a great cry of the people and of their wives against their brethren, the Jews," against fellow Jews. It's Jews treating other Jews wrong. It's the people of God treating the people of God wrong. "For their word that said, we, our sons and daughters, are many. Therefore, we take up corn or grain for them that we may eat and live and stay alive." We're struggling. "Some also there were that said, we have mortgaged our lands, vineyards, and houses that we may buy corn because of the dearth or the famine. There were also that said, we borrowed money for the king's tribute or his taxes that upon our lands and vineyards. Yet now our flesh is as the flesh of your brethren. We are the same flesh and blood. Why is it you're treating us this way? And lo, we bring into bondage our sons and daughters to be servants. Our children are as good as your children, but yet we have to subject them to this type of treatment, that you're making our children your slaves. And some of our daughters are brought into bondage already. Neither is it in our power to redeem them, for other men have our lands and they have our vineyards." Now this is Nehemiah talking. He says, "I was very angry when I heard that cry and these words." Let's stop right there. Nehemiah said, "I was upset when I found out how the people of God was treating one another." How do you deal with conflict? First of all, let's look at the source of the conflict. Anytime you're studying, and we should not really say Old Testament because that would be offensive to a person of Jewish origin. This is their history, so they refer to it as Hebrew history. And so anytime you're studying Hebrew history, you want to date it. You want to understand if this is before they were taken into captivity, or is this during captivity, or is this after they're coming out of captivity. Nehemiah, I want you to understand, he lived during the time when the people of God came back to Jerusalem after they had been in captivity for 70 years. Everybody say 70 years. They had been in 70 years of exile, 70 years of bondage. Now, when they went into bondage, they were dealing with the Babylonians. When they came out up under the hand of the Persians because it switched. A lot of people don't know that. Started out with the Babylonians, and then the Persians took over. First, you're dealing with Nebuchadnezzar, and then after that, you're dealing with Darius. It switched from two types of enemy, two types of heathen Gentile oppressors. Went from the Babylonian hands to the Persians. Now it's the Persian kings. And Nehemiah, he goes to the Persian and he says, I feel led by God to go back and to rebuild the city, in particular to rebuild the walls. Because when the Babylonians hit them 70 years ago, they tore down everything. They tore down the walls. The walls are very important to a city because if you don't have walls, you don't have any defense. Animals can come in and take away your kids at night. If you don't have walls, then the enemy could attack you at any time. It meant you were vulnerable. And so you have to have walls. And so the Babylonians came down and tore down their walls and destroyed their temple, took the precious vessels out the temple, tore down their houses, tore down their vineyards, tore down everything, and took the best of their young men. That's how Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, their names were changed, and Daniel, and took them to Babylon to serve their king. That's how all of that happened. Now they're coming back, and Nehemiah goes to the Persian king now, and he says, I want permission to go back and rebuild the city of Jerusalem. Are you following me so far? It's very interesting that when he goes to get permission from the king, he says, not only do I want permission, he says, I'm going to need protection. The king not only grants him protection, he says, I'm going to give you some letters, and I want you to carry them in your hand, that if anybody bothers you, show them these letters. And the letters read, you better not touch him. If you touch Nehemiah, the whole kingdom will be after you. Woo! God will protect his own. And this is how much favor is on the life of Nehemiah. Nehemiah said, now while I'm asking, let me ask you a couple other things. He said, we're going to need some material. We need some lumber. We're going to need some money because we're going back to rebuild this thing right. And can you believe that Persian narcissistic king would look in the eyes of Nehemiah and say, you can have anything you want. Get all the lumber you want, get all the resources, all the money you need, get it. It's all yours. You just missed a good place to shout. Because when favor is on your life, God will make even your enemy bless you.